stand trial for Sword's murder, Conda asked to vacate constituency office. Has Team Unity abandoned its protest action? DPP withdraws case against Steve Liebert. And in sports, Sandy Point new Rams primary school champions.
4 men charged with the murder of Sheldon Sword Cannonier would soon stand trial at the Bastia High Court, as the preliminary inquiry determined that the Crown indeed had sufficient evidence against them. With more on this story, here is Janice Falance Isaac.
The PI concluded sometime last week with the men, Kimo Fleming, Sylvester Crossley, Shane Amry, and Vance Thomas, being sent back to Her Majesty's prison to await their trial date. Cannonier was shot dead on Sunday, June 2, 2013, after he exited a church service at the Rivers of Living Water Christian Center in Limekeen. Initially, Crossley, Amry, and Thomas were charged approximately 1 week after the offense was committed, and a 4th individual was being sought by authorities. Fleming, who had evaded the police for some time, was subsequently arrested and charged in relation to the incident. The men are expected to be tried sometime during the May 2014 criminal assizes.
Parliamentary representative for constituency number 3, the Honourable Sam Conda, has reported that he was asked to vacate the constituency office which he had occupied for a number of decades. And while declaring that he has no problem doing so, he said that would not take place before he is properly compensated. With more on this story, here is Teresa McCall.
Speaking with this media house, Conda explained that the office sits on a piece of land that belongs to Captain Val Morris, and sometime last year, he received a lawyer's letter requesting that he gives up use of the property. He explained that while the land is Morris's, the structure on the land belongs to him, and he will not move until he is properly compensated. Conda also indicated that the property was valuated, and he waits for word on whether he would be compensated or the land would be sold to him. The former Deputy Prime Minister declared that monies used to erect and furnish the structure were raised by him personally.
But just recently, the story you're hearing now, just recently they came up there and said that they were going to, they want me to move because they're going to do some repairs on the building so that Collins could move in. And so I protested. I tell them that will not happen. I will not allow that to happen unless they compensate for what I have there. I don't mind moving because I make an arrangement to move already. And I know that I will move, but I'm not going to move until they give me, they talk to me about how I'm going to be compensated. So that is where it's at the moment.
When contacted by this media house, both Maynard and Morris opted not to provide comment on the matter. Meanwhile, Conda informed that he has identified an alternative space which would function as his constituency office.
The Unity movement seems to have lost its momentum with an obvious lull in their protest action which they began in February 2014. With more on this story, here is Teresa McCall.
The protests began shortly after Justice Darshan Ramdani handed down a ruling in the motion of no confidence matter, where he suggested that the motion of no confidence should be tabled. Since then, a number of protests have been staged on the outside of the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank, the place of employment of the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honourable Curtis Martin. The last, however, took place on Monday, March 10th, and resulted in the protesters trailing the Speaker through the streets of Bastia while he was running a couple of midday errands. Only days later, a communique was issued by the police force after, as it indicates, reports of persons following others about and harassing them were made. With the picketers' noticeable absence since March 10th, efforts were made to contact Unity leader, the Honourable Dr. Timothy Harris, and Unity member John L. Powell to find out if the protests would continue. Both initially indicated that they were engaged, and subsequent calls to them were futile.
The Chambers of the Director of Public Prosecutions has withdrawn the matter against cricketer Steve Liebert, who had 3 charges laid against him for an incident involving Minister of Sports, the Honourable Glenn Phillip. With more on this story, here is Janice Falance Isaac.
The case was withdrawn on Monday, March 24, at the Bastia Magistrate Court. Liebert's attorney, Senator Vincent Byron, said that DPP Travers Sinanan told the court that his office had conduct of the matter and requested that a statement be made by Phillip. Byron claimed that the minister told the court he would not be pursuing the matter as he did not want to jeopardize Liebert's career. The attorney explained that as a result, the DPP informed that the matter would be withdrawn. On Thursday, January 23rd, while Minister Phillip was being introduced to some of the players at the Leeward Islands cricket camp at the Connery Playfield, it is believed that he and Liburd were involved in a verbal disagreement. Liburd was escorted into the dressing room by one of his teammates. Phillip then lodged a complaint to the Leeward Islands camp official and the police. The following day, Liburd went to the Bastia police station where he was charged with assault, threatening language, and armed with an offensive weapon. He was consequently suspended from the camp.
Athletes of the Sandy Point Primary School on Sunday, March 23rd, dethroned their neighbors at St. Paul's to become the 2014 Rams Primary School champions. With more on this story, here is LaShawn Dixon.
In a nail-biting encounter, which was decided in the very last race of the competition, the Sandy Point Primary School emerged victorious, just edging out the Beach Island Primary School after both schools finished with 10 gold medals each and had to be separated by the silver medal count. The teachers and students of the school were in celebratory mode after it was announced that they were the 2014 champions and presented with the championship trophy. The day's competition saw some standout performances from the likes of Tucker Clark Primary's Daria Esdale, who won the under-13 boys 1200 meters in a new record time. Trishani Warner of Sandy Point and Dequania McSheen of Keyon continued their rivalry, with the former being triumphant in the 400 meters and the latter winning the 100 meters. Dr. William Connor Primary's sprint twin of Kaima and Kaila Rollins continued their dominance in the under 980 meters, taking the 2 spots in those events. The top 6 schools are as follows: Sandy Point Primary, Beach Island Primary, Dr. William Connor Primary, St. Paul's Primary, Tucker Clark Primary, and the Keon Primary. Victor Lodorum was Lamar Williams of the Newton Gong Primary School, and Victrix Lodorum was Ketrian Huggins of the Sandy Point Primary School.